This program is all about not just surviving, but thriving. So, it is uh, geared to be helpful to those businesses. A lot of restaurants are really on their teetering on the edge. So they really have to figure out how they're actually going to survive. But it's also useful for businesses, and hopefully many of you are in that situation where it's not only a matter of surviving, but where you can maybe take advantage of the way that the market is changing in response to this terrible pandemic, to be able to land on your feet and grow, to find new opportunity. So let's step through this a little bit, Stefan. So what we do is in this 4 hours, it's going to be a short journey. And hopefully we won't all get, Zoom fatigue too much. We're going to keep this pretty active. You're going to be on your toes, even if you're on your seat. Managing this journey to survive and thrive in challenging times. Next slide. So here's the steps. And as I said, normally this takes place over 4 weeks, but we're going to do it in one day here. So we're going to introduce, then this is me introducing the program to, we're going to give you a framework. We're going to be your guides. So each of us are going to be leading a small team. You'll be broken into these teams. For at least half the time you'll be in a small team working with each other, generating ideas and brainstorming together about how to find a solution and where you can move forward. We're going to give you simple tools, a roadmap, which we sent these out to you ahead of time. We'll work with these tools, a roadmap to set your destination and figure out what the obstacles are. What we call a shift gearbox to figure out where are the areas that you can look to make changes in your business. And they going to be areas like operations, customers, marketing, revenue, models, and partnerships, and more. How can you leverage your strengths to overcome the obstacles and weaknesses to adapt to the challenges? We're going to talk a lot about ways you could speed up change. A lot of people have been major stuck with this pandemic. And so a lot of the emphasis we have here is how can you do things faster, quicker, and cheap also. It's not a matter of making a big grandiose plan, but it's a matter of figuring out what you can do to design what we call a minimal viable product. And it's a term that comes from the startup world. How can you get something out there fast as an idea that you can talk to customers and then shape it as you go? And then at the end, we're going to expand the vision. We want you to go out and really look at where you want to be 3 years from now. What is sort of your dream business? Or how do you think you could grow your business 10x? And then from that point, after you jot down some ideas about what that's going to be, pull it back. And what are you going to do over the next 3 months? So the end game is you'll wind up with a 3-month plan, based on what are you going to have to do now? Where are you going 3 years from now? And then what are you going to accomplish over the next 3 months? Next slide, Stefan. So, why does it work? One of the reasons it works is that we've been in a crisis. And when people are in crisis, there's, two things happen. Either they do nothing, in other words, they get stuck, or they realize it's an opportunity, because crisis puts you in danger, but it's always a crossroads. And there's always an opportunity to find the road that is going to lead in a positive direction. So that's the goal. What opportunity can you find? So we're here to provide you a map, a toolkit, and a timeline. As I said, those are the tools. You've got to bring the destination and the drive. Now, obviously, we're just doing it in one day. Normally, we stretch it out over 3 weeks to a month. But you're going to have to provide your drive, when you go back into work. And then the team, and this is what worked in that fast track program too. People get a lot of energy from the ideas, both that they contribute and that they get back from working in these teams. It's like the concept behind Mastermind. And it is what happens here. It is amazing to us as we watch each of these workshops go, how much people get from each other. You can just see it, and then people suddenly start moving who have been stuck for a long time. And this is both sort of small one-person shops as well as sophisticated business people who have really just been stuck in place by what has happened over the last year. All right, next. So where we're going to start is, as I said, again, the idea is you're going on a journey, you are on a journey, and you got to start with where do you want to go? So the first step, and we try to make this simple, it's not like getting an MBA. It's simple, but it's making clear what you're probably thinking about, but maybe you haven't made it clear enough. Where is it you want to go? Where are you now? And where do you want to go? That's the idea of the roadmap. And we give it to you with some specific statements that we want you to focus on. Next one. So first statement is, what's your destination? And, think about it during this year. What are you trying to do this year? And when you look at what you're trying to do, the big thing we want you to focus on now is what are your roadblocks? What restrictions are in your way or regulations? A lot of people are dealing with that. Where do you have resource gaps where you know where you want to go, but you just don't have, maybe it's not enough money, maybe it's not enough team, maybe you don't have enough technology. Identify those things. It's not, and don't make an endless list. We want you to identify maybe the top 3. That's what we're going to ask you to do. And what are the major risks that you face? And keep in mind that the roadblock sometimes can be yourself. And we ask you to be honest if that part of the roadblock is yourself. In other words, your own reluctance to go outside your comfort zone. So be honest as you approach this. Next one. All right. So here's the shift roadmap as you have it in what we sent you out earlier. Hopefully you all printed it out. So identify what you're going to do now is take a little bit of time on your own, about 5 minutes, to identify where you are now and where you want to go this year. And then write down what your top 3 roadblocks are. So as I said, we'll just take about 5 minutes to get that done. And then when we get done with that 5 minutes, what we're going to do is have you go into your team for the day and start talking about at least your number 1 roadblock. You can identify what all 3 are, but we'll start talking more seriously about your number 1 roadblock and, and get into some group feedback about that. All right. Any questions before we